Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Is audio okay? Can I continue? Thank you. Namaste to all. On the occasion of tomorrow being the Gurupurnima day, I thought today I spent some time on this Gurupurnima, and that's why this and cut short the whole of Satsang to a small little time, because the other things I can take it up. So that's what I was thinking. This concept of Guru is something which is very unique to Indian culture, Indian philosophy. Only in this we have this idea of Guru. Uh, the teacher student is the way that the West that we think of it. We also have the teacher concept, Adhyapaka. But then Guru is something which is very special. In fact, in various other cases, it is said that the teacher and student connection is that it is the teaching oriented. So that means to say, the teacher has to teach. That's why there is a syllabus for the teacher. He has to complete the syllabus, whether the student follows it or not, understands it or not, but then the teacher has to teach. So therefore it is teaching oriented, therefore he is called as a teacher. And the student is somebody who is learning, and if he doesn't fit in that class, so then he will be either demoted, or if he's somebody advanced, then he will be taken to higher level. But then the teaching is something which is the basis, and the student fits in there or not. That is the kind of thing. Whereas our parampara, which has come from the 20,000 years, from the ancient times, it's not the teacher oriented, it is the learning oriented. It's more of a learning oriented. In fact, there are certain stories in the earlier philosophy, that is, the teacher, the student will have a mat, and then he will spread the mat in the Gurukul in front of the teacher, and then the teaching is going on and the learning is taking place. And the the student, when he feels that he has learnt enough, then he quietly takes out his mat and leaves that room, leaves that place, and he will not appear next day. So that is the way that it is basically, that he satisfied with the learning, with the learning that happened, the transformation that happened. This is one incident that shows that it's the learning oriented. The teacher is sitting there, teacher is giving the ideas. The second thing is that there is another very beautiful incident that comes in Mahabharata, and that is when Drona, who is the teacher of Kauravas and the Pandavas and all that, when he was teaching, and there was Yudhishthira, the, um, the eldest of the Pandavas, kings, and who was there, princess who was there, and he was teaching him about Yama Niyama, all these things, and at that time, this point of Satya, truth has come. He explained about the truth, and when he explained about the truth, then everybody nodded the head, and then let's go further, so that the next sutra I will teach, Drona said. But Yudhishthira said, no, I have to learn, I have to still learn. I'm trying to understand what is the truth. Digest is what is the idea of truth. Then Drona was a little surprised, because you are supposed to be brightest of the kids. And what is that which made you you don't understand this? It's simple. Truth is that which exists. As simple as that. No, but it is not that simple. Still I need to understand it. So please wait. So it continued like that for a month or so. Everybody was shocked, surprised, because that everybody thought that they understood. But Yudhishthira did not understand for such a long time. And afterwards, when Yudhishthira felt that he understood that, then he said to Drona, you can continue the next sutra. So therefore, Drona continued with that idea, but then this impression that Yudhishthira was somebody who has not only heard about the truth, but it seems that he has contemplated on the truth and he has become one with the truth. Maybe something like that. In Drona, that impression was so strong. As a result of it, what happened was that in the war field, and this happened in the childhood days, and several 40 years later, almost like in the war field, when Drona was fighting the war, he was very ferocious, fierce. His war was very fierce at that time. And the only way that Drona can be conquered is that if he gives up his shastras, he gives up his body, he gives up his life by his own admission, then only one can really defeat him. Then what is the way that it can happen? Only thing is that Drona's attachment to his son, Ashwathama, is so extraordinary that he is living for the sake of Ashwathama. That's what earlier also he said. When Ashwathama, on one occasion, Drona said to Ashwathama, I love you so much that the moment that I hear that you are not there, I will give up my life. So that is the kind of relationship between Ashwathama and Drona, son and the father. The father-son connection was so strong. So therefore, basically, that the only way that you could kill Drona is make him he give him an idea that Ashwathama is dead, Ashwathama is killed. But then Ashwathama in the war field cannot be killed. So therefore, what they have done is that they have created they have named a horse, a elephant, which is a very powerful elephant, really ransacking everything, berserk everywhere, creating such a havoc. And then uh, Yudhishthira asks, who is that? What is that? Is it that this is what is the rogue elephant whose name is Ashwathama? So Dro- uh, Yudhishthira knew now that is Ashwathama bring all those things. But in order to war to continue, that somebody has to kill that rogue elephant. So therefore, that Bhima goes there and kills that rogue elephant. And then everybody was jubilant because that the war can continue. So therefore, what they said is Ashwatthamahatha. Along with that, actually, Yudhishthira also said Ashwatthamahatha. He meant about this particular rogue elephant. But then, when everybody started shouting Ashwatthamahatha, it reached Drona. Drona said, did Yudhishthira also say that Ashwatthamahatha? Yes, Yudhishthira also we heard saying that. That's all. Because Yudhishthira is identified with the truth. If he said Ashwatthamahatha, then Drona immediately gave up his life, his body. So therefore, then he was killed in the war field. So how powerful the teacher connection between the student is. So this is what the student and teacher in the case of teacher and school. But in our case, this is what is basically the teacher is not a teacher. He gives a direction to the student. So therefore, that we have very beautiful mantra. I was saying that in the Guru mantras, that is Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Ajnana Timirandhasya. That means to say, when the ignorance, the darkness called as ignorance that mm, probing in that, I'm struggling in that. Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. He takes me to with the lamp, with the light of Jnana, knowledge. Shalaka means that the light. So with that light, he lights the whole world. So therefore, my journey is made possible in the right direction. But the journey I have to make. The teacher, the guru is only gives you direction, shows you the direction, but the journey we have to make. And that's why we have such a beautiful expression between the guru and Sishya. Sishya is somebody who is learning, also known as Acharya and Antevasi. Antevasi is the student, the idea of student. Antevasi, the word came because for the student came. Ultimately, he becomes like a guru. He becomes like a guru. So therefore, that he is named as Antevasi, Antaha, that he becomes like the guru. So therefore, Antevasi. So it's only this kind of a thing that he shows this connection to the knowledge, so that that wisdom is something which guides you, and somebody who gives you that is supposed to be the guru. Now, there can be so many gurus, as one place it says that whatever that is from which that I learn is supposed to be guru. Somewhere it says that I learned from the spider how to weave a nice, wonderful web. So that web is the place where I live, and also it's the place where I can collect my food. So all that is there, whatever that is there. Like that, I learned something from the spider, I learned something from the bird, I learned something from the earthworm. Like that, there is a description about that. That means have so many gurus that are there, and that's given in the case of like this particular culture, we have this concept of guru is so strong. In fact, that's a very beautiful expression for that. Sagurumeva Bigache Samit Panihi, how he goes to the teacher, he says that where he touches, he bows down into the teacher. And that's what he says that Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. The Guru is somebody who is learned and also is established in the truth himself, and such a person that you go and bow down. And what is the way that he says that? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Pranipata is very important. The idea is that where my head stops, your feet begin. That means to say the knowledge has to flow. I have to create that gradient. And that gradient can be created by the student becoming like humble. Therefore, it becomes like what is called a Shraddha. That's the reason why we have this idea of Shraddhavan Labhate Jnana. On the other hand, the teacher is the real teacher. The guru is a real guru where there is no ego of guru. That means the knowledge cannot become like his ego. But only thing is that gradient creates that gradient of knowledge can create. The compassion flow is the way that knowledge flows. Knowledge flows out of compassion, just to complete filling up of the lower level to a higher level. So this knowledge itself has to fill it up. And the guru, knowledge just comes out of him. The guru does not have the ego of the guru. Then only the knowledge goes. In fact, when the knowledge alone goes, the knowledge itself is Brahman. The knowledge itself, we call it as Dakshinamurti. That's a very beautiful expression that is there. So it just flows. That's the reason why in Bhagavad Gita also that it's not that Krishna like an ego, but Krishna is somebody who is wise, wisdom, and there is no person like Krishna where the knowledge is coming from. That's why every place, Arjuna's position, there is a Arjuna Uvacha, whereas Sanjay Uvacha, Dhritarashtra Uvacha, everybody else is there Uvacha, their name is taken. Whereas, and Krishna's teaching is there, he says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. That means to say there is no Krishna. When the Krishna himself is completely became transparent at that point of time, it's only the Bhagavan or the God himself flows through him, and that God is the knowledge. So that's how the knowledge flows. And this relationship between the Guru and the Sishya, the knowledge flowing, is also the moment is created, the activity is created, and that activity is created like the way that it is in the wakeful and dream states. It's not the Turiya Sthiti, it's in the wakeful state that's created. So that's also another expression that is there. Karya Karana Sambandha, that means to say that Karya and Tat Karana, the reason for that and that Karya, they are separate. And in this creation, that this separation is there. Like for example, seed is there, and then plant has come, fruit has come. So we say that the seed is the karana, the cause, and the fruit that comes is supposed to be karya that comes up. in between, for the fruit to come, that you have to put all your effort, everything that you need to do. Ultimately, fruit comes. If you do not put an effort, still that the fruit is there inside the seed, it will come out. But only thing is, it might not come out like the way that it is supposed to be. When it is properly nourished, properly taken care of, and that taking care of proper, all those things is supposed to be sadhana. So therefore, knowledge is there, but only thing is that you need to do the sadhana so that the fruit comes out, the knowledge comes out in the form of a fruit. It's a very, very important expression that we have. If you don't take care of all those things, then still knowledge will come out, but it will come out not with that full blossom expression that is possible. That does not come out. So therefore, we need to take care of that. So it is, in one sense, it's belong to the wakeful dream state or in the manifest world outside where the cause and effect connection is there. But deep inside, there is another feeling is that you need to take care of it to see that you need to transcend that. That's why we have such a beautiful shloka that comes in the Dakshinamurti Stotra, and that is uh, of all these. So sorry, I was telling that whatever the knowledge that we get, it's all that if we have that feeling that you are getting that knowledge from somebody, so therefore that there's a guru feeling that's there within you. But all these small little gurus that are there from which we learn various things, and but of all these things, the true guru, real guru, is somebody who gives you this Adhyatma Shastra. This Adhyatma Shastra, Adibhutika, Adidaivika, Adhyatmika, when you look at it, Daivika is basically your senses. Interaction is what is called a Daivatva, Deva. So whatever that, the best way that the senses manifest, the best way that you can achieve anything. And that's supposed to be Adidaivika. Whereas Adhyatmika is, it's not about the world outside, it's not about the senses, but it's about yourself. And something which can take you to yourself. That direct connection with you, whatever that gives, is supposed to be Adhyatma. So therefore, basically, that Adhyatma Shastra, which puts you in touch with yourself, that's what is Adhyatma Shastra. In fact, last week also I was saying that you take up any question in the field of our Sanatana Dharma, ultimately the question ends into inquiring about yourself, know yourself. That's what is the basic idea from it. It guides us into. Even Prasnopanishad also guides into that. We'll see that in the Prasnopanishad. But this way, essentially, the whole idea is to see that discovering oneself, uncovering oneself, and reaching oneself by the self. That's what is Adhyatma. So, therefore, basically, whatever that leads you to the Adhyatma Shastra, whoever leads you to the Adhyatma Shastra, that's supposed to be Guru. In fact, such a beautiful way that an individual may have ego, therefore, basically, that it is the knowledge which takes us towards that. That's why in Sikh Parampara, they have got Guru Granth Sahib as their Guru, the text which takes you towards that. And when you look at that text, all the great saints, all these rishi like people, that they have written all those things, and that's what people consider it. The way that how they carry it with that kind of a respect, that's what is the. And the same thing in the Swayamsevak Sangh, they have taken up the Bhagwa Jhanda to be the Guru. There's no Guru outside because basically so thoughtful because whatever we have learned, it is because of this culture of this particular land. Uh, there's one Gurudad Apparao in Telugu. He said that Deshamante Matikato, Deshamante Manushula. I mean, country does not mean the land, does not mean the geographical boundary, means people. And people do not mean just only the mass, but the people means that what is the samskara that brought this people for several thousands of years. And that's what is basically the way that indicates that the samskara that we had, the Sanatana Dharma that we had, that becomes like our Guru. And that Sanatana Dharma, Sampradaya, is given in the form of that Gerwa flag. And then they go in front of that Gerwa flag with that Guru concept of it. So we can have the feeling of Guru is something which is very important. And even the people who guide us also, that we should always have this idea. A Guru has to always have this idea that there is no question of high and low, there is no question of ego behind it. Knowledge cannot be here ego. So this is what in Dakshinamurti Stotra is also there. Vishwam pashyati karyakaranataya saswami sambandhataha शिष्याचार्यतया तथैव पितृपुत्राद्यात्मना भेदतः स्वप्ने जागृति वाय एव पुरुषो माया परिभ्रामित तस्मै श्री गुरु मूर्तये नमः श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये. The beautiful Dakshinamurti Stotram. Vishwam pashyate karyakaranataya swaswami sambanditah शिष्याचार्यतया तथैव पितृपुत्राद्यात्मना भेदतः स्वप्ने जागृति वा ययेष पुरुषो माया परिभ्रामितः तस्मै श्री गुरुते मूर्तये नमः श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. In Jagrita and Swapna, we always have this two relationship, because basically that two relationship is made that transaction possible, interaction possible. The karma is possible because of the two interaction is there. When this two is not there, karma is completely dissolved. In deep sleep, there is no karma. The wakeful, Swapna, Jagrati, this karma is there. Not only in these two, but in Turiya also, that these things are not there. Ultimately, there is no these two things. So therefore, basically, Karya Karana Sambandha, this division of cause and effect, is there only when you, in the transaction phase, in the wakeful and dream phase, Karya Karanadaya, and this is supposed to be the wakeful and dream. Wakeful in the normal sense, but we say it's also the dream compared to the Turiya, but it is supposed to be more, less of deep sleep state, less of sleep, whereas dream is much more deeper sleep state, but then deep sleep state. But then real wakeful state is supposed to be Turiya. So Vishwam Pashyati, when this is the way that happens, in that Jagrata and Swapna state, we see the world, Vishwam Pashyati. And what is the way that Vishwam Pashyati? Karya Karanataya, that means the cause and effect connection is one, it divided into two, and Swa Swami Sambandataha, that means to say, that's where me, the boss and the subordinate, are the master and the servant. Similarly, Shishya, Acharya, the student and the teacher. The Acharya, that means to say Guru, and the Shishya. And this is Tathaiva Pitruputra, the father and the son. And Atma itself became Vedataha, in these two ways that it can divide itself, so that this interaction takes place in the wakeful dream state. But then soon, that the moment that when we realize, and that's the moment, Yesha Purusho Maya Paribhramita. This is what is supposed to be the Maya. That means ultimately both these things are supposed to be one. Divide into two for the sake of interaction. Supposed to be Maya. So, whereas Dakshinamurti is somebody who is supposed to be that, who is not divided into, he is his own Guru, his own Shishya. So that's why he says, Swatma Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaitam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. All this Bhranti of Guru and Shishya is gone, and one Guru, that's why universal Guru, whose Guru is himself, that's what is Dakshinamurti. So therefore, Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. This Dakshinamurti is such a beautiful name, beautiful idea. The concept is, once again, this need to be understood properly. Dakshino Jagat Srishti Sthiti Samhara Vishaye Samarthas Asau Amurtascha Asharirascha Iti Dakshinamurti. The significance of Dakshinamurti is given such a beautiful way. It says that Dakshinamurti alone, Daksha comes from competence. One who is Daksha is competence, and so in respect of creation is competence. What is that? Creation, sustenance, and also in dissolution. So Jagat Srishti Sthiti Samhara Vishaye Samarthaha. That means is competent. And Amurtascha Sharirascha iti Dakshinamurti. Somebody who is is not that the body, not that form or anything like that. It is a concept. That's what is Dakshinamurti and Brahman of the Upanishad. This is what is the way Dakshinamurti is understood. Often people think why we call that Dakshinamurti as the Guru. Daksha, for the sake of um, birth, sustenance, and the dissolution, all these things, and then take it to a higher level. It's all the competence that is there is what is called as Dakshina. So therefore, Dakshinamurti. On this Guru Purnima day, it's a day that we pay our salutations to whoever that we have in the name of Guru, whether it is past or present, living or not living, and also not the objects and anything that is there. But of all these things, the central figure which is representing all those things is, of course, Dakshinamurti. So that's why on this occasion of Guru Purnima, this is an extraordinary, wonderful situation. Many places, they schools and all that, they organize this kind of a thing where the, the students pay their respects to the teachers on this particular day. Wish you all a very happy Guru Purnima day on this occasion. And when we come to Prasnopanishad, the Guru in Prasnopanishad, yes, he says, is the Brahman, which is supposed to be the also given as the Aditya, Adityasya Ravi. Surya. Surya is the one who is the Guru. And then Raireva Chandrama. It's a very, very beautiful concept that he gives in the Prasnopanishad. Look at the whatever that you see in whatever form of energy, whatever responsible for any activity that takes place in this creation, it's all from the sun. And that's why he has the first what becomes is that sun. And sun himself creates all these things out of which all these things have come. Now the distinction has to be done to see that how it is divided into various aspects of it. For that, the he created all these planets, etc., all those things, so that now you have the whole map of time. That's so beautifully done. Particularly in Indian culture, that the time, Samvatsaraha, the whole period of time, has been so beautifully created, understood because of all these planets and stars and all those things. So time is created and their influence is there on us. So Kala himself is the God. Kala himself is the sun. Kala himself is the Brahman. So that is the way it is given. Now from the sun, he all because the question of the student is that how everything is created. So it comes from that question. It says everything is created from the sun itself, and sun and moon. And look at the beauty of it. The Brahman himself becomes the pranamcha, raincha are the one is sun and the other is the moon. What do you mean by moon? The moon is the object on which the sun is reflected. You recognize sun because it's reflected on the moon, acts on the moon. So one is the guru and the other is Sishya. In fact, it's always said the greatness of the guru is recognized by the student, Sishya, many times. Very beautifully said that the greatness of Rama was very simple, but the greatness of Rama can be understood by looking at Hanuman, who was supposed to be his servant. But look at the way that Hanuman was eloquent. And seeing him, that you should imagine what Rama is. That's what Hanuman also says. When he's talking about Sita, he's saying that, will Rama be able to take me? He says that Rama is such a great uh, army, and in his army, I'm the most insignificant fellow. And I could do this. I could burn the Lanka. And if I could burn the Lanka, and I can take you free, I can let you free. But then let that honor go to Rama. Not only he said to Sita, he said to Ravan. Kumbhakarna also said to Ravan, when the monkey came and created all that havoc, you should have realized. Why did you not realize at that time? Same way, he said that Ramakrishna Paramahansa stayed in Kali temple in Dakshineshwar and then he was doing the puja. That's all. But then you should recognize the greatness of Ramakrishna by looking at the Sishya. That's what is Vivekananda. But for Vivekananda, Hinduism would not have been revived. And that is the kind of contribution that he has done. So, like that, the same way that the sun recognized because that it reflected on the moon. Our sun is recognized because it becomes so many different types of energy and so many different ways that it creates activity. There is nothing which is not from the sun. Even the small little candle that we light, now, and that comes from the sun's energy only. We can't create another energy other than the sun denying energy. So that is the greatness of the idea of that sun is himself. The Brahman himself becomes the sun. Pranamcha, Raimcha. And all this multiplicity is created, comes from that. The way that Indian philosophy, with the modern science, modern understanding, we can understand that the all pervasive consciousness that is supposed to be Brahman is also freedom. It's total freedom. It can become anything. But then freedom only, the freedom makes complete only when it has a ability to give up its freedom and become something which is of a lesser freedom. That further gives up its freedom to become lesser freedom. So that's how the whole creation is nothing but the whatever that is the ultimate freedom is there, it went on reducing itself to become something which is a lesser freedom. Of all this thing that you see, the creation that you everywhere that you see is nothing but that the lesser and lesser degree of freedom, of which when you look at the moon, that means to say it is the inert material. It does not have any freedom of its own. It has given up everything. So that means to be in the spectrum of things, that is the last part of it, last aspect of the Brahman. But it's still Brahman, but Brahman, by its own volition, it became something which is least freedom. So that what happens, it is done like that so that the transaction takes place. He can reflect on the moon. And we see that the moon shining, but moon is not shining, it is a reflection that has come on the moon. The same way that the whole creation is nothing but where the the sun's energy, our sun's capacity is the one. Our sun itself is something which has become lesser so that Anvitati interact and transaction takes place. Now, on the other side, that he also says that in another direction, when you look at it, from the another point of view, when you look at it, the sun himself has a capacity to freedom, means basically it can multiply. It can multiply. So therefore, it becomes like in month, it becomes like anna, food, and food from that Retas comes about. There's a very, very beautiful concept that is there. One aspect of the sun is the creative aspect of it, Brahman, and that creative aspect is in the hidden inside this food, inside this food, because the food itself is the life. The life aspect itself is inside the food, and that life aspect in the food he calls it as retas. So you cook anything, you do anything, but then the the life aspect is something which is there inside the food, is something which goes into us. And that's consumed by various insects, including the human being, also consumes that. And this life aspect goes into the again another life aspect that is there. So this is a cycle of life aspect. It is very nicely said that food becomes food for food is the food for food. That means to say that the rice is the food, and then we eat, and we are the food for various insects, and then all that goes into the soil. Soil, there is life aspect of it, and that becomes the food grain. So there's a cycle that's going on. Whether you become vegetarian, non-vegetarian, anything that you become, only the life, wherever there is life, that only can sustain the life. Where there is no life element that is there, a matter that is a matter where there is no life element, it cannot create life. It cannot become part of the life. So it has to become again dissolve itself, and then Brahman itself becomes a life aspect of it. That's why this life aspect is there in the sun, and then it becomes Anna, the food, and that food has what is called as the life aspect inside, hidden inside that. You see, plant has that life, and various the plant when it grows, that life aspect goes into the grain of the plant, and that life aspect goes into the grain is something which is once again goes into various other species, and again there pranamcha raimcha, there is division that takes place, and that division once again coming together multiplies. So this is how the whole procreation, the whole multiplication takes place. It's because by it has ability to divide into two, and then this two coming together is the one Mithuna Utpadayata. So constantly, all the time, this Brahman is becoming this Mithuna, and then life, and then getting together, and then creation takes place. So it's a continuous process that's going. It's not only the human being, all the species. That's what is going on, and that's what he says that this Prajapati Brahma. So earlier he has given us in the 13th Sutra, Ahoratro Vai Prajapati, Tasyahavev Prano Rai, Ratrihi, Ratreva Rai, Pranam Vayete, Praskandanti, Ye Deva, Racha, Sanjujjante, Brahmacharyameva, Yatya Ratro, Pratya Samyujjante. So, Ratri, day and night, that means to say the darkness and the light. So these two are created, and then the multiplication takes place. Ahoratravai, the day and night. So prana and the rai, and they become the day and night, and therefore this creation takes place. Annam vai Prajapati. Now this Prajapati Brahman becomes Anna. Annam vai Prajapati. Tatoha vai tadretah. Tasmin tasmad imaha prajaha prajayanta iti. This is where it becomes in the food Anna. Anna has both these components that are there of the life which are supposed to be, and then one component becomes. See, there's another very interesting thing about this is that the plant takes the um, sap from the earth, and then the sap level that you don't see anything, but then every cell in the sap has its own intelligence. It goes with that intelligence, and that manifests and rightly manifests where it has to manifest and all that. That means to say, when it comes to the stem as sap, you see only the sap that's coming up. But there are certain cells which are the sap cells which go into the fruit becomes fruit, and some go to the leaf to become leaf, and some go inside. Those with the tendency to become leaf, they become leaf, become something else, bark becomes something. So therefore, that means to say they have the tendency, they become like that. Similarly, within us, that whatever that enters into us, it has already there is a mark on that, and the mark is that it becomes like bone, something becomes like blood, something becomes like brain material. So whatever it is, all these things are already predetermined, ordained, and then they become like that. So at that point of time itself, that their freedom is curtailed to become only that particular thing, and they reach that state. The same way that there are certain things which will become, mm, they enters into the man, enters into the woman, female and male, and then again that they join, and that continues to become multiplicity. So this is how Anna is the one which is the root cause. Annam vai Prajapati, Tato vai Tadretaha. Reta is that part of it which is supposed to be responsible for multiplication. Tasmad imam praja prajayante iti. From that, many things have come. Many have become. Tadye havai tat prajapati प्रजापति व्रतम चनन्ति ते मिथुनम उत्पादयन्ते तेषामे वैशे ब्रह्मलोको एष तपो ब्रह्मचर्यम येष सत्यम प्रतिष्ठितः. So therefore those who observe this rule of Prajapati produce Mithuna. From them alone in the Brahmaloka we have penance and celibacy, and to whom the truth abides. So now this, when this becomes like this, we we said that there are two different paths. That is, one is called as the downward path. That's what is the and the upward path, and that is what he called as Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. Dakshinayana is not in a negative way he is talking about, but Dakshinayana is the way that you try to create a society, you create together about the material prosperity, material wealth, and all the rules and necessary harmony that is we create in the material world. Vedanta never rejected that. So that aspect is there, that is created. So that is how in this mm, Prajapati Charanti Midhanamutpadayanti Adyante Teshame Deva Brahmaloke Yesham Tapo Brahmacharyam Yeshu Satyam Pratishthitam. So this, in this God's creation itself, this aspect is there where if, because last time also I was saying that the student who comes here is already spiritually oriented. So Brahmanishtaha Brahmaparaha. So Brahmanishta Brahmaparaha, such a person, when he is asking about, there also that there are two aspects of it. One is live in the society organized way, in a disciplined way, and create a society which is extraordinary, which is very well planned, and all those things that is created. In fact, that's very important in this society. How the society, the there's one group which becomes the other. They go to go towards taking care of higher level, higher reality. But then those who are in this world also, that they are supposed to be with this in their practices and all those things, they follow this. That's why we have this aspect of it called as dharma. Dharma belongs to this world, moksha to the higher level. So artha and kama, which are belong to this world, is put in the framework of dharma. And that dharma framework, when you put it, then what happens is that this is something which will lead you to that moksha sthiti. That's what we have seen in the case of Bhishma, that he completed all these things in this way so that he can reach towards that moksha. That's why he's so extraordinary in this world outside, in the material world outside. There are some rules and regulations. This is what is basically a you follow a order of the society, disciplined way of the society, which is both having these two aspects of it. One is called as brahmacharya. तत् प्रजा चरन्ति मिथुनमुत्पादयन्ते तेषामेव ब्रह्मलोके येषां ब्रह्मचर्यं येषु सत्यं प्रतिष्ठितम्. Brahmacharya and Satya, these are the two important principles on which that this whole creation, when it is organized in this way, and then you create a beautiful society in the world outside. So this is the 15th sutra which talks about how this world has to be organized in a wonderful way. That is very important thing. Rishis have given importance to that. Last time also I was recollecting the idea that uh, Rana Pratap wanted to become sannyasi, but then Mirabai said that we need kings of that particular order who maintain that. Teshamasau virajo brahmaloko nateshu jihmam anutam namaya cheti. The other thing is that virajo brahmaloke, this is what is the superior brahmaloka, the inferior. That we have these two things, manifest Brahman and then unmanifest Brahman. So one is something which is taking care of the manifest Brahman, and the other is going towards that unmanifest Brahman. That's what is Virajyo Brahmaloke. When is it possible? How is it possible? And that's when you realize yourself. You are nothing but you are also part of the Brahman. And that's what is the purpose of yoga. Yoga is that yujjate yuj. People say Jivatma becomes one with the Paramatma. It's not that we are taking Jivatma and linking with the Paramatma. We realize that the Jiva within us is also nothing but Brahman. And once we realize that we go there, there are two different ways that it is understood. When somebody dies, he becomes like he attains moksha. And another is somebody when who dies, that he comes back again with a good samskara, but then again pursue in this world. The last time also I was saying that between the mukti and mrityu, the difference is when the desires die before you die, that's what is mukti. And you die, but the still desires are there, maybe good desires. And that is what is mrityu. So mrityu brings you back to this world to see that this world continues and then you improve. But there is a point where you say that I'm not going to be caught up in this world again. I'm free from this. I identify myself with that ultimate. That's what is mukti or moksha. So these are the two concepts that is there. One is called as Virajo Brahmaloka, other is Brahmaloka. We also have this idea, manifest Brahman and unmanifest Brahman. So manifest Brahman is the one where that all these rules, regulations, good karma, good activity, and Swarga, Naraka, all these things are there. This aspect is there so that you improve yourself. Whereas the Virajo Brahmaloka is that loka where the I becomes one with that. Kevala, that's what is Patanjali's idea of Kaivalya. Kai, this is Pada, where it is supposed to be, you become one with the Brahman itself. There is no question of duality existing there. So this completes the first shloka. So first is question, Pradama Prashna. So therefore, we look at the Prashna, it starts with inquiring about the creation, but ends up into purpose of going to realize that you are Brahman, self-inquiry. It ends into self-inquiry. That's why it is called as Adhyatma Shastra. So let's continue with the second shloka next time when we meet. We'll stop it here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.